Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
All right, everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Frankly Francisco podcast. Today, I am flying solo. The reason for this podcast in particular is I am a bit frustrated with other creators, and I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, I know this is not an easy thing to do. It's time consuming. It can be costly from others, especially if you have a whole team around you of people that are helping you get your podcast, but you're not independent. If you can afford a team, that means you're sponsored, you have money backing you. But for people like me and people like a bunch of other independent podcasters who do things on their own, they don't have a team backing them with money. They don't have that presence where they can get themselves seen to a wider audience. I'm a bit frustrated. And the reason why I'm a bit frustrated is I like to call it the bait and switch. This is going to piss a lot of podcasters off, and I don't care because I'm tired of this. When it comes to interviewing, when it comes to getting guests on your show, when it comes to guesting on other people's show, there should be some form of etiquette that comes with that. And what I mean by that is if I am looking for a guest and I'm asking for that guest to come on the show and they want to be compensated, that's different because I'm asking that guest to come on the show. If you are asking me to come on your show and you send me a fluff piece saying how you enjoy my content and how you enjoy the things that I talk about and the guests that I have, and I would be a great fit for your show, then you turn around and when I go to go calendarily to go fill things out, all of a sudden I'm hit with a fee to come on your show. I didn't ask to come on your show. You asked me to come on your show, but yet I am forced to pay you anywhere from $75 to $500 in appearance fee because it helps with your team. If you are going to charge people, do not ask them to come on the show. Okay? You don't do that to other podcasters. You don't do that to guests that you are asking to come on the show. That defeats the entire purpose of what we do. Yes, your job is to make money, but your job is not to make money off guests that you are asking, that you are writing and messaging to come on the show. That is called a bait and switch. This is not an isolated incident, okay? This has happened to me already, count them, 10 times. 10 times where I've been asked for me to come on their show because they enjoy the content, they enjoy the conversations that I have, and they enjoy my interview style. But yet, when I go on to schedule these interviews, I am being charged. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. As a creator, I understand we are in the business to entertain people, but we're also in the business of making money. But podcasters need to learn you should not do that to guests if you are asking them to go on your show. You are the one reaching out. I am not reaching out to you. And this is just not me. I'm sure this is happening to other podcasters. They just don't want to say anything because they don't want to stir up any controversy or have any issues. I don't care. I'm an independent podcaster. I'm not making money off this show yet. I'm here to tell you what the truth is. The truth is you are being used by these other people. Okay? They want you to come on their show so they can give you exposure, but you have to pay for that exposure. Why ask me to be a guest if you're going to charge me? If I was asking them to come on the show, then I can understand if they want to be compensated. I get it 100% because I'm asking someone to come on the show and it's their time that I'm taking up. That's me asking. But if you are asking a guest, you in particular, whatever podcast that you are asking a guest to come on the show and then you turn around and you charge them a fee for that appearance, that's lowbrow. You don't do that. And I'm sorry if it's going to aggravate some podcasters, but I don't care. Because most of these podcasters that are asking you to pay a fee, these are the podcasters that are already getting 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, $100,000 downloads an episode. So because they feel that they can give you extra exposure, which in all reality, it really doesn't happen. The exposure is not as big as everybody thinks it is. Okay. At the end of the day, but you're going to charge me. You're going to charge me an appearance fee after you asked me to come on the show. Come on. We're better than that as content creators. Okay. Don't get me wrong. The job is hard. If you have a team around you and you were paying your team, I get it. I understand. Production is hard. You have to pay a producer. You have to pay an editor, somebody to handle your social media, somebody to get your stuff out there. 100% understand. But I'm independent. I don't have a team. I have to literally cut, edit, post everything myself. But if you were that big of a team, why are you asking someone who does not have that type of clout in the industry, someone who does not have that type of following in the industry to come on your show? But and expect me to pay you $200+ or more for the appearance that you asked me to come on. Make it make sense. I know some great content creators out there. I know some people out there who are getting 3, 4, 5, 6,000 downloads an episode, 100,000. I know a content creator who's doing 500,000 downloads. But if you ask a guest to come on the show and you are charging them, it's ridiculous. Okay, we need to be better as content creators. You are taking advantage of a situation from people who do not have the clout. And some people will say, well, it's worth it. Why is it worth it? Why is it worth it? Because they say it's worth it? Because they say they get 10,000, 20,000 downloads? Do you realize a lot of these content creators buy their downloads? They make their downloads bigger than they actually are. It's very easy. It's called podcast farming. It happens all the time. But I'm supposed to pay you $250, $275 for me to come on the show that you asked me to come on because you enjoy my content. What they're doing is content farming. They're using smaller content creators and the things that they do to give themselves more views. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. I don't care. I have nothing to lose in this industry. Nothing. I'm independent. I haven't signed to anybody. I don't have any endorsement deals. I'm telling you like it is. The game is rigged for a lot of people. Okay. They have the inside. It's corporate. It's always things like this always turn into corporate. Look at podcast movement. All I saw was complaints on Twitter that it wasn't about content creation. It was about corporate America. It was more for the corporate structure of podcasting than it was for independent creators. Podfest is literally for podcast creators. They shape it for creators to come in to learn to do all the things they're doing. And I am gonna be going to Podfest 2025 next year, guaranteed, because after all the nonsense that I've seen over the last years, and even though Podfest where it was last year wasn't the best, man, I got to meet so many people, so many content creators, so many people willing to give knowledge and not gatekeep on the business. But when you have places like Podcast Movement that was in DC and they're half empty because people can't afford to go there because it's unaffordable, because it's all about corporate, it makes things hard for other creators. But that's what it is. It's a game where they just want who they want. Some of these companies handpick who they want to represent the company. They don't have to have talent. They just have to have the face. They just have to have the voice. They just have to have the backing. It is harder for someone like me to get deals, to get endorsement deals, to get signed by somebody because I'm independent. Because I don't have that backing that most people have. One of my mentors, one of the guys that has helped me through everything, even he has seen what's going on. He sees the nonsense. A lot of my podcast creator friends see the nonsense. I want all my friends to be successful in this business, but it's not right that these bigger podcasts who have a following are asking other podcast creators to come on their show because they love their content and you are charging them to come on your show. How does that make sense? I'm not reaching out to you. You're reaching out to me. It's gotten to the point now where my podcast has been flooded with people who want to come on the show. Flooded. I don't have the time for it. I'm not a full-time creator. I'm not a full-time podcaster. If I was a full-time podcaster, I'd be like Joe Rogan. I'd have a guest on every day. And this is not me being cocky. This is not me being critical of anything. It's me telling you the truth. The truth is, if I wanted to, I'd have a guest on the show every day. I just don't have the time for it. If I was to show you my inbox of the people, of the amount of guests that want to come on the show, and I'm still not charging yet. But it's gotten to that point where I might have to charge a small fee for folks who are asking to come on the show. If I'm asking you to come on the show, I'm not charging you because I asked you to be my guest. I reached out to you, you didn't reach out to me. And what frustrates me is people are not creating hardly anymore. The podcast game has slowed down. There was only something like 336,000 podcasts that came out last week. You know why? Because people are not making money in this business. Like everything else, smaller podcasters are getting phased out. And when we try to create a network to help other podcasters create and to make money, it gets taken over. It always does. It gets taken over. We create something to try to make it open and inclusive for everybody. Anybody can pick up a mic and talk, but not everybody can have a long-lasting thing. I know podcasters that put out an episode every day and only get 15 downloads. I know podcasters who only put an episode out once a month and they'll get 15,000 downloads. It all depends on who your audience is. It all depends on who's pushing your stuff out there. And I've said this before, you got to pay to play sometimes. That's the way it is, but not when it comes to guesting, not when it comes to them asking you to come on the show. To me, there's something inherently wrong about you reaching out to a guest, saying how good their content is, and they want to bring you on the show so you can talk more about your style and how you interview. And then when you go make the appointment, there's a fee involved. Why? Did they not think to waive that fee for the guest, especially if they're the ones reaching out? This has devolved. Podcasting has devolved into really a money grab for a lot of people. It's not like that for everyone. Everyone doesn't do it for the money, man. People do it for the love of it. I do it for the love of it. Of course, do I want to make money? Yes, everybody does, but it's not important. It's not the most important thing in podcasting. It's having a passion for the art. This is an art form. Interviewing someone, being able to talk to that person, get the best out of that person during that interview. That takes skill. That is not something that grows. That's not something that you have inherited innately. You have to build that skill. That is a learned behavior. You can be a natural yapper. You can be a talker. I'm a natural talker, but my interview skills did not get to where they are now without continuous practice, without talking to people on a daily basis. I know people who have monster sets. They have the best cameras, the best audio, the best sets, spending thousands of dollars, and they cannot interview for their life. They're combative with their guest. They're combative to get views. They're combative to get clicks. That's not an art form, man. That's not what we do. That's not what we sacrifice for. That's not the times and hours we put in. Everyone's trying to sell you something online now. If you look at the ads on Instagram, everything is a course. Everything is an AI thing now. I can get you, your own app where people can download. I can get you your own, course on doing this, or I can teach you how to do this. Those are the people who are making money because they're making money off gullible people too, at the end of the day. We are a business where we should have a passion about what we do. When you are having a conversation with someone, you should be actively listening to them, learning what their likes and dislikes are, learning about their passion about what they're doing. Sometimes people have to put a pause on what they're doing. There's been gaps in between my podcast. I should have been well over 100. But life happens. I'm not a full-time podcaster. I have a regular job. I have a family that I have to take care of and look after. If I was a full-time podcaster, maybe things would be different. Maybe I would have a sponsor by now because I would literally have enough content to put my stuff out there majorly. I am taking baby steps. It has taken me a long time to get where I am right now. I'm on the verge of creating my own website, literally my own website, for me to be able to put my content and create other things alongside the podcast, like a documentary, like short films that will all be centered around that website. Content creation is hard, and I've said this 1,000 times, but anybody can pick up a mic. That that's not a problem. Anybody can pick up a mic and talk. But the question is, do you have the fortitude? Do you have the drive? Do you have the heart to keep continuing after tragedy strikes you over and over again? After tough times come at you over and over again? Not everybody's built that way. Not everyone is built that way. We all get frustrated with the industry. We all do. Social media is supposed to help you. It doesn't. Social media is supposed to put you out there. It doesn't. You're not going to go out into the ether on social media unless you're paying to go out into the ether, unless you get a big time celebrity to endorse you or to retweet something where it builds your momentum. But again, you have to pay for that. And I get it. Celebrities are human too. They have to have the time to be able to do things for other people, and they should get paid for it. Absolutely. But if you have the money to do that, by all means, go out and do it, man. I don't knock anybody for doing what they're doing. The only thing I get upset about is what's happening now with higher tier podcasts that are making money hand over fist, charging when you are asking a guest to come on the show. My content is good. It is. My content can be good, but it's not going to make a difference because it's not going out like it should. I have a solid following for my podcast. Solid following. I'm not getting 3,000 downloads a week. I'm not aggressive on my show. I don't cuss on my show. And it's not because I can't, it's because I choose not to. My guests enjoy that part. My guests enjoy the fact that I let them be who they are. I let my guests express themselves the way they need to express themselves. I'm not going to be combative with my guest. That is the reason I have so many people that want to come on the show, because they hear the conversations that I'm having. The guests tell other guests. My frustration comes in when the guests are not doing their part. And it's not all guests. It's not all the guests that has been on my show, because I have guests that do their job, that promote, that retweet, that share everything. But then there are guests who don't. There are guests who just come on just to sell their product, call it a day, and that's it. And I understand it, and I get it. But then these are the things that frustrate me as well, because I'm taking my time to talk to you, to get your business out there, to help spread the word about what you're doing and what you're passionate about. And you can't get out there and do a simple retweet. You can't get out there and share, knowing that you have a lot of audience. I am not just another podcaster. I will never view myself as another podcaster. Because if that's the mentality you have, then you are in the wrong business. You have to view yourself as someone who is going to be in the game for long term, someone who's going to put up with the adversity that we are facing right now as podcasters. There has to be other avenues for us to make money. But that avenue does not mean that we are supposed to be cannibalizing each other online. That does not mean we're supposed to be charging each other money when you are asking that person to come on the show. And like I said before, this will upset some podcasters. I don't care. There's a million podcasters out there. Not everybody's going to continue doing what they're doing. If I put out a show, it's going to be quality. I'm not going to put a show out just to put a show out. I'm not going to put something online just to put something online. I want a guest who's going to come in, who's going to want to talk about their passion, who's going to want to talk about how hard it's been for them, who wants to talk about their journey and their accomplishments, and me asking those questions to bring the best out of them. You can like it or not like it, but a good amount of people like it. A good amount of people enjoy what I do. There's enough people for other podcasters. But when you cannibalize other podcasters for clicks and for views, I find a problem with that. Congrats to those podcasters who are getting thousands of downloads, who are making ad money, who are making sponsorship money. I'm happy for y'all because you put the time and the effort in, but then you forget where you came from and where you started. You don't do that to guests. You don't go out and seek a guest on your show and then charge them a fee to be on your show. Again, bait and switch. This happened once. This happened 10 times already to me. 10. You want to feed off who I am and feed off my content and feed off the fact that I can speak well, that I can hold a conversation with my guests, and my guests enjoy being on the show, but you want to charge me for coming on your show when you asked me to come on the show. We need to do better in this community. We really do. Podcasts have been dipping. Because people don't last in this business, because if they don't start making money soon, they move on to the next thing. The passion is not for everybody. Everybody's not built for this business. Everybody's not built to be evergreen. Some podcasts have a 2-year run. Some podcasts have a 3-year run, and that's it. I want to podcast as long as I can. But at some point, we all want to turn a profit. And at some point, I will have to start charging my guests. Nothing astronomical like $200 to come on the show. Maybe as little as $20. Because it does take time and effort for me to host the show, for me to edit the sound, for me to do all the social media, for me to post. It takes time and effort for that. And that's when you'll know if it's worth it, if people really want to come on the show and talk to you, if they're willing to pay that $20. Because if people are willing to pay $200+, $300+, $500+ in some cases, I don't see any reason why somebody wouldn't want to pay a simple $20 to come on the show. You have places like Podmatch that you can get paid for having interviews with people. It's a great concept, but it's not for everybody. We need to do better. We need to create networks that are better for us to try to create revenue. There's so many things out there that are available to people now, but it costs money. And independents like me is hard. I would love to do Hulu ads. It's too much money for me to do Hulu ads for a 30-day spot. You have Tubi. You can sell things to Tubi for. Tubi's like one of the things out there now that people are using like crazy to sell content to. It's Tubi. They do play good movies, but they also make their own content, and people watch it. As much as they downgrade and they talk about Tubi, that this movie belongs on Tubi, you are still watching it. And Tubi has done its job of getting people to come on that platform and watch their content. They are thriving. Even with the ads, they are thriving right now. Because they're willing to put content on that would not normally go on regular networks. It's a brilliant concept. We have to do better as creators. We have to do better in the fact that not everybody's going to have the money that you're demanding of them. I really enjoy what I do. But at the same time, I get frustrated because of other content creators just going for the money grab, man. We should not be gatekeeping knowledge. And a lot of people do gatekeep knowledge. Or what they do is they'll give you a little bit, and then they'll teach you a course that they want you to pay $1,000 for. And if that course is not selling, it'll be $499. Don't worry about it. Or they'll go at the low price of $250. We are a capitalist nation. It's all about making money. And don't get me wrong, you should make your money. But at the same time, there's a difference between making money and taking advantage of other people. And in podcasting, there's a large section of podcasters who are predatory in how they get their content and how they try to gouge people who are trying to come up. This may turn a lot of people off of what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, I really don't care. You're not affecting me one way or another. I can't even afford right now to put my podcast in one of these podcast awards. And I'll tell you why. because they charge you for every category that you're in. You can pick 4 or 5 categories. You have to pay for every category to get in. And what people don't realize is that it's not about the show itself. It's about popularity and how much money you're putting in. I've known people that won podcast awards, and the only reason they won that award is because their entry fee was astronomical. They put in thousands of dollars into entry fee to end up winning an award. The only awards that are worth entering is the awards where your podcast is being judged by actual people. By actual people. Look at the yesterday, look at Kai and look at Speed. Neither one of them won Streamer of the Year. It went to a girl in Mexico that nobody has heard of here in the US. But people don't understand. There's podcasters all over the world that are massive. It doesn't have to just be the US. Mexico is a big country. Latin America is a big country. So she may not be popular here in the US, but I guarantee you in Mexico, in South America, I promise you that girl is huge down there. She owns 2 soccer teams. Come on. It may not be popular here in the US, but people keep forgetting there's growth outside the US. And don't get me wrong, Kai and Speed are the 2 biggest podcasters, 2 biggest streamers out there. Besides Aiden. But everybody's mad because neither one of them won Streamer of the Year. But guess what? It's just not the US, and this is what I'm talking about. We get hung up on people who are in our face all the time and do not see that there's other people out there just as talented, but may not be in the US, that are blowing up. Good for her. I'm happy that she won. Because now her name can get out there in the US as well. Because I promise you, Latin America knows who she is. Latin America follows her. It's not always about American content. I try to get my content out everywhere. Spain, Australia, the UK. It's hard. But it doesn't mean I don't try. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue to try. I interview guests from other countries so I can build that out. But as a community, we have to do better. It's one of those things where I feel we have an innate ability for most of us to be successful if we do things the right way. But we have to learn how to engage each other better. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I need to get my frustration out because always, it just seems like it's always one thing or another when you're trying to be successful and there's roadblocks in the way. I'm not paying somebody that asked me to come on their show money to do that. Not doing it. It may hurt me long term. It may hurt me from expanding my audience. It may hurt me from getting as big as I want to get. It doesn't matter to me. Because there has to be a line draw somewhere. But I'm going to leave you with what I always leave you with. No matter what anybody tells you, if you found your purpose, live it. See you guys later.